Hi, I'm the Moorlander and this is Moorlander EDC. Welcome to the great outdoors and welcome to, what is this now? I think this is number 3. Yeah, I think this is number 3 of my iconic series. Now, what I do with my iconic series is I take backpacks or bags that, for me, based on my own personal opinion, really have reached an iconic level, kind of legendary level within the EDC community. And the one that we're going to look at today is the GoRuck GR1, which is right behind me. So without further ado, I think we'll just get straight into it, and then we'll talk long and hard at the end why I feel that this is such an iconic pack. So what I'll do, I'll turn the camera around, or at least I'll get closer to the bag so that we can go through some of the specifications. While I'm doing that, if you do enjoy this content at any point, please feel free to hit that like and subscribe. That would be amazing. Let's get a closer look at the GR1. Now, as we usually do, we'll go through some measurements, some materials, and then some of the features of the pack. So, previously mentioned, this is the GR1. There are 3 versions of the GR, or the GR series. There's the GR1, and then there's 2 versions of the GR1. There's a 20 litre and there's a 26 litre. Then there's a GR2, which is slightly larger, and a GR3, which again is slightly larger. And I think, I've completely forgotten, it's about 40 litres, but they go up in size depending on how you're going to use them. Mainly, this is your EDC one. There's one for EDC and travel, and then there's a larger one for more kind of travel based sort of stuff for 7 to 2 hour stays, you know the kind of deal. Then there are also some heritage versions of these which are absolutely amazing. Instead of using the mil spec Cordura that you get in these, they use this absolutely amazing waxed canvas material, which I think for the name heritage says it perfectly, because after some time you'll get an absolutely amazing patina on that fabric, which will look amazing. I've probably said amazing 10 times already. Okay, so back into the measurements. This measures 20 inches. Now I'm going to do it in inches today, mainly because this is a bag from the US, and I'll put the millimeters down here as well. But this measures 20 inches by 12 inches by 6.5 inches deep. 6.75 inches deep. And it comes in at 3.2 pounds, which is about 1.5 kilos, which is actually alright for a bag like this. But a lot of that weight really does come from the materials that are in here. This bag wasn't designed to be a snowflake. I think that's fair to say. And I think if there's a lot of hype around this bag, and a lot of the hype is down to the fact of just how tough this really is. And I have to say, if we're going to address the elephant in the room straight away, this lives up to the hype. This is incredibly tough. It's made from 1000D mil-spec Cordura. There are how many different colours? So this is the multicam black version, which I appreciate probably doesn't look the best on camera here, but there's a black version, a coyote tan, I believe there's a grey one, and a navy blue kind of colour. I'll leave some links here as well, so you can look into that as well. But as I was saying, this is ridiculously tough. And now, see, this is another thing, especially around that hype. I know 1000D Cordura. I've reviewed plenty of bags in 1000D Cordura. This isn't 1000D Cordura. This is as though GoRuck have gone to Cordura and gone, look, could you slip us 2000D and then we'll just say it's 1000? It's just ridiculous, honestly. I mean, hopefully you've caught that I was being sarcastic there. But for 1000D Cordura, this makes other 1000D Cordura just look paper thin. I don't know what they've done with it, if it's a different type. Maybe Cordura have done a special blend for them, but it's just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous how tough this is. But when you get into the mindset of why the GR1 kind of came into existence, the mindset around rucking, about having a bag that you can pass down to your grandchildren, and your grandchildren will pass it on to their children. You know, this absolutely fits that original design brief. We want a bag that is pretty much indestructible, and you really can get this with this bag. It does take a little bit of time to wear this in. Now, I got this, believe it or not, I actually bought this last Thanksgiving in the Black Friday sale. I know we certainly don't celebrate that here. However, I certainly took advantage of that. Why not get some discount? And in the year that I've had this, it's still got the crease here at the bottom where it comes when it's been folded and it's sent to you. There's still creases in here from that original packaging that, having used it for 12 months, I'm still just trying to get them out. The zips on this are incredibly tough. You need muscles to open the zips. That's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just because a lot of the materials on here are that tough and that strong that it just feels like climbing into an Abrams tank rather than climbing into a Fiat Picanto or something. It really is just that tough. Now, I'm talking a lot about toughness, I really am, and I know I'm getting into it a lot, but I think when we're talking about why this has reached an iconic level, you can't not talk about the GR1 and just how tough it is. Now, getting into the layout of the bag, as far as the bag's concerned, it's a very, very simple and minimal style bag. You have one large zip front pocket that folds all the way down. This is a full clamshell, which we'll have a look at in a second. And then there is an easy access pocket on the front, and that's kind of it, apart from some internal storage and maybe a little bit on the back. But all of the sides are completely flush. Both sides are identical. There is a section for some PALS webbing here at the bottom, just in case you want to attach something to the side. This bag itself, especially for the sides, the way that this is concerned, there's not really much you can attach on to these. It's only 2 rows, but you know, there's still, sorry, 2 columns. There's still enough there if you did want to. And I think the waist pack that you can get to this, it uses the PALS webbing here on the side to be able to attach that. On the bottom again is completely flush, and there is a lot of padding in here. If you're after a bag that you can place down on the floor and it will sit up when you place it down, this is perfect for that. There really is a lot of padding here in the bottom. It also makes sure if you've got any valuables on the inside, obviously if they're valuable you're not going to be throwing your bag around a lot, but it does give some drop protection as well. On the front, as I've already mentioned, you know, you have this large panel which is a full clamshell opening. Through here you have 3 rows of 6 columns of PALS webbing, so if you did want to attach something to the front here, then you can certainly do that. I think when you look at the GoRuck website, especially for people that are rucking with this, which we'll talk about rucking in a little bit later, you see a lot of people putting fluorescent strips through here or reflective strips so that when they're walking in night that you can attach stuff. But if you did want to attach stuff to the front, then you can certainly do that here as well. Top, bottom, side. So on the top, actually if I just take this off, on the top here there is an absolutely bomb-proof, indestructible grab handle. So the way that this grab handle has been stitched on is completely over-engineered, but it is in the ethos of GoRuck. You know, this is designed to take punishment. So you have some webbing that is stitched across, and then into the webbing to give that extra support you then have the grab handles. Underneath the grab handle there is some of the Cordura material that has been folded and then double stitched, and then across the top of that you then have some extra webbing that is then stitched onto there. So you have almost 4 points, because this is double stitched into the actual material here, and then the grab handles are then stitched into, box stitched and double stitched onto that piece of webbing to make sure that this is possibly the toughest grab handle that you'll ever come across any bag. As far as getting my hand into there, I've got medium to large size hands, I don't have any difficulties getting it in, and I'd say it's reasonably comfortable as far as grab handles go. But if you need to grab it, pull it out of something, you know, get it on, or you're walking into the office and you've got it there, it's a great grab handle as far as grab handles go. Then on the front you have a large zip pocket. So the zip pocket opens, all of the zips on these are YKK zips. They're all super strong, really nice stitching, how they've been stitched in. They have some, what do you call it? It's 550 paracord, but they've took the middle out of it to make sure it's nice. And then you have these heat shrink wrap things over those, so they're always really easy to grab. This goes all the way down to the bottom, so you can fit quite a lot in there. And then as it zips up, there is a rain hood to make sure no water gets in. If you need to get things higher, there's no underside. So where this stitching is here across the top where the zip is, it's not one of those pockets that you can kind of get stuff in and then loop it under to be able to fit taller items in there. It does stop here where the zip is, but it goes all the way from the stitching here on the left hand side all the way to here on the stitching on the right hand side, and as I mentioned, all the way down to the bottom. It's really good for stuff that you want easy access to, but also because this pocket is so deep, I've certainly not had any worries on city breaks when I've had this on city breaks, mainly because if somebody did manage to get this open and they wanted to get something in the bottom, you know, there's no way you're not going to be able to notice if somebody tries to get something out. On the back there's a suspension system, but we'll have a look at the suspension system when we get to that. The last thing probably to point out here is that there is a morale patch section. Now, I've got stars and stripes on here out of a mark of respect to the history behind these bags. That's not I'm trying to pretend that I'm American or anything like that. You know, I'm all very proud of being from the Kingdom of the Moorlands, but it really is out of a mark of respect to this bag, its heritage, and you know, the people that use this bag, which we'll get to in a minute. So to unzip, you have two large metal huge zips which zip all the way down to the bottom, and when you open this up it is a full clamshell. In here there is some more webbing across the top, there is some more pals in here. It's 3 rows of 6 columns so that you can attach stuff to there. And then in the back here there is a large pocket which in here is designed to put in a rucking plate. Now, rucking is the pursuit of going on walks, generally quite, you know, hard walks, and doing it with some weight. So that's the kind of the duality with this bag. There is also another bag that GoRuck make called the Rucker, and the Rucker is designed to be the bag that you do your rucking with. However, if you wanted to something that you could play hard and work hard with during the week, this is your laptop bag, you go to work with it, you do what you need to do, this is the bag. But then if at the weekend, you know, you didn't want to also get the Rucker to ruck with that, you can still ruck with this bag, and you know, it's more of a crossover bag, whereas the Rucker is mainly designed to be the bag to ruck with. But you can use this for a lot more. That's what I like about EDC. It's trying to find bags that you don't necessarily are designed for EDC, although you know this one is designed for EDC, but there are other things that you can use them for. If you wanted to, I've fit my daughter's 15-inch laptop into this sleeve at the back and it fits perfectly. So you can use it for that. I've also used it on city breaks, and I put water bottles in here so that they certainly don't slosh around as much. On the inside, all of the it's not lined in here, but hopefully if you can see here, all of the stitching is reinforced, all of the stitching is perfect. Honestly, it's just, I'm going to say this a lot, it really is indestructible. If you want to as well, you can put a water bladder in here, and hopefully here you'll be able to see at the top there is an opening for the water bladder which will pass out through the back. There is some hook and loop here that you can open for your water reservoir hose to go through. But the inside, as far as this back panel is concerned, I'll spin that the other way around, is fairly simple. And again, you know, I've definitely said this, it has a very simple, minimalist feel to this bag. On the flip side, on the lid that folds down, you have two pockets. There is a large mesh pocket which goes all the way down to the bottom there, which is great. Certainly when I've had my laptop in here, I've been able to, you know, pull on my bits, but in here I've been able to put a lot of my cables. Because it's got this mesh on the front, it makes it a lot easier to be able to find things. And then at the top there is another pocket which goes down to where the top of the other one is, that you can put other things into as well if you want. All of the zips on the inside, they're all YKK. As I mentioned, they're all YKK throughout this entire pack. Just get that zipped up quickly. As I say, and I definitely joke about this, I certainly don't mean this in a bad way. This bag generally can be a struggle to do things, and it's a struggle that I quite like, just mainly down to how indestructible this bag is. On the back you have your suspension system, but underneath that, if I fold those over, there's actually a laptop pocket on here. Now this is designed for your laptop, and if there's anything that I could possibly change about this, I'll probably remove this, but I don't know. And that is because have that ruck plate holder on the inside. The ruck plate holder does a very good job of holding laptops. I've reviewed a few bags where they have laptop sections at the back, and I think because you want this to kind of taper a little bit for your back, it's a little bit too rigid. But you know, there's ways around it if you want to move that onto the inside. But the padding on the back of this, again, I'm going to say it again, is absolutely ridiculous how firm this is. And there's also in here, you can hear that, there is not a plate, what is it? A rigid plastic liner which you can take out, which will allow the bag to become a little bit more supple. On the back here, on the outside, as far as where the cushioning is, again, you know, this is possibly something that I'd look to change, and that is that it's just very flat. If you're after a bag that needs a lot of ventilation, you're in an area where it's very warm, you don't certainly get a lot of ventilation from this. And I know it's something that a lot of people have mentioned when they've been doing reviews of this bag, that's just not a letdown, but it's something that GoRuck really need to work on. And there may be a light at the end of the tunnel, because with the new Rucker 3.0, they have changed this back panel and the materials that are used on here, so that it's just a little bit more easier on your back and allows more breathability. So hopefully there might come a point soon, fingers crossed, where that new back panel from the Rucker will then migrate over to the GR1s. But all of the stitching on the back there, our difficulties then, all of the stitching again is super reinforced, YKK zippers, and also here as well, so where you've got stress points, because GoRuck know that these bags are going to go through a lot, all of the stress points, all of the areas that are going to be high wear have got additional support on there with additional webbing. Now the creme de la creme with this really comes down to the support, or the suspension system. And again, it's just simple. Sometimes you can overcomplicate things, and I think I hadn't thought about that through beforehand, but this is an uncomplicated bag. I knew I should have thought of that earlier. This is a very uncomplicated bag. As far as the suspension system, the padding on here is just I'm going to say it again, it's ridiculous. It's tough, but not too tough. The straps are really wide, which makes sure that when you've got this on, a lot of the weight that you can carry in this is dispersed over a wider area. On the top here, this is something that I saw recently in one of the Victos bags. The way that this is stitched in, so it's stitched into the bag, then you've got extra stitching to make sure that this is strong, then it comes down through to box stitching to make sure that's strong. The circumference of the box stitched is double, triple stitched, and then you've got extra webbing that comes down here to make sure that this is bomber, and it really is bomber. Now, as you come down, you have some PALS loops so you can attach things onto here. I've used that with one of the GoRuck chest straps. You don't get the chest strap with this. It is something that you buy extra, but I can't remember how much it was. I think it was like it was $10, $12. It wasn't much. And I think when you add it all together, just adding one of these, personally I love a chest strap. I know a lot of people don't like them, but you know, I quite like them. And the proof of the pudding is in the tasting, and when it comes to a suspension system, uncomplicated and simple is often key. This does that exceptionally well. As I mentioned, you know, it spreads the weight through these really wide straps. The density of the foam in here is just right. It just sits very well. It's actually one bag that, having tested it without the chest strap on there, it actually works really well. And I think that's the way in which the suspension system works and how it manages to distribute a lot of the load across your back and your shoulders, and also the way that it's anchored in behind. It certainly doesn't want to pull apart, and it doesn't want to move your shoulders apart. It sits really well. I'm just a fan of a sternum strap. I find that they just, I don't know, maybe it's a comfort blanket thing for me. I just prefer that they're on there. This bag, it is something special. Now, it's not perfect. It certainly isn't perfect. I think one common kind of thing that a lot of people get to with this is that material. The material on this, I suppose you need to think about, it's that perfect balance, isn't it? The balance is, you know, it needs to be supple so that when you're wearing it, it just feel, I mean, we'd all like to rock around with bags made of silk because they just feel really nice and they wouldn't wear against your clothes. Whereas this is possibly the opposite end. What would be the opposite of silk? I don't know, maybe sandpaper? But this, that's a really terrible analogy. It's not sandpaper, but it might as well be sometimes, because you definitely get a little bit of wear from the material on your clothing. Once it's been worn in, especially on the abrasive areas on your shoulders, you tend to find that, you know, that disappears. Walking with this in the summer, sometimes when I've had a t-shirt on, I've got back home and found that I've got marks on the inside, on the outside of my neck, where it's just rubbed slightly. It does disappear after some time, but I think as far as a balance, it's just tipped over the edge. But having had this for a year now, and now that it's worn in, it doesn't affect it as much. But I think for a bag that takes that long to wear in, you've got to make sure that the juice is worth the squeeze. And as far as this is concerned, you know, it's your Sunny D, and I'm not talking about your nowadays Sunny D that's had all of the crap took out of it. I'm talking 1995 Sunny D that you could get high on. It's that good a juice. That was a bad analogy as well. Okay, I hope this has helped. I mean, I've rambled quite a bit there, but I think one of the other things to mention about GoRuck is really outside of the bag, and that's down to rucking, that's down to the ideas that GoRuck was founded on. So if you don't know rucking, as I mentioned, is just walking, but when you're walking, it's based on military kind of exercises, but it's been picked up a lot by civilians. Walking is incredibly good for you. It's not as impactive as things like running is, so you can run longer. It's great for your body. But when you go for a ruck, you'll put some weights in here. Now, I don't have any of the GoRuck plates, but what I've been doing is I've just got some plates, some weights that I use at the gym. I haven't stolen them from the gym, I use them in my own gym. So I've done this with 10 kilos, which is what, that's about 25 pounds, and I've done it with 15 kilos, which is about 35, I think. And it's great, you know, you can get out, you just go for a walk, and you really do feel afterwards that you've got a lot of exercise out of that. And that was a lot where this was kind of founded on. It's a lot from ex-military service men and women that got out of the military, and they just needed something. And that something is where the iconic kind of community, and I'm going to say this, and I mean this in the greatest respect, it's almost a cult. It really is almost a cult. And I hope no one takes offence at that. I hope every single GoRucker out there is proud to be a member of the GoRuck cult. But what they've managed to do is they've managed to create this just band of brothers, band of sisters kind of community. And what they do, especially a lot in America, you tend to find that it's in the US more, although it's coming a lot over to Europe, which is great to see. But you get these men and women that all just get together on a Sunday or a Saturday morning, put some weights in here, get out into the countryside and kill themselves, literally. But in that kind of, you know, I forgot the word, what's the word, getting good out of adversity kind of thing. It's that having something to just get stuck into. When you come out of the military, you've got a meaningful kind of thing to do, which is great for building community. It's incredibly good for mental health. GoRuck support a lot of charities, especially as far as mental health is concerned. Every single year they do the Chad 1000X activity, which again goes a lot towards mental health charities and ex-forces charities. And that's a lot. That's a lot of clout behind the idea of what a simple rucksack should have been. And I think for me, that's why the GoRuck GR1 has reached that iconic level. Is it the best pack in the world? I don't think it is the best pack. It's incredibly simple, it's uncomplicated, but it's built like a brick shithouse, if you'll excuse my French. It's got that community around it. It's a great EDC style bag, and hell yeah, it deserves to be an iconic pack. Now what I'll do is, as I usually do, I'll leave some links in the description below if you want to check out GoRuck in the US, or you know, wherever you are in the world. There might be places local to you. I believe Beaver Fit in the UK are the only supplier of GoRucks. Germany, you've got Quirks. I think there might be some other companies as well that do those. So I'll try and see if I can find some links, and I'll leave those in the description below so that you can see more from GoRuck and also from the charitable work that they do. You also, I put this on this morning because I knew if I didn't I'd forget. Check out Yomp Notes. So Yomp Notes is a blog here in the UK. The guy's an absolute legend himself, but what he does is he takes GoRuck bags. So he's got the, I think he's got the GR1, he's got the GR2 as well. If you want to see how these can be set up, if you want to see how these can be modified to do what you need to do from these, then definitely please Google Yomp Notes so that you can see more from him and how to set these up. I also believe that Yomp Notes may have a discount code for Greyman Tactical. Now Greyman Tactical is another amazing company, and what they do is they make like hardback style PAL systems that you can put into these. But then if you wanted to maybe use it at the weekend to go out for a yomp, then you can do that, but you take the panel out, swap it so that you can put your laptop in. Check them out as well. You can't really, or at least I can't, discuss GoRuck bags without thinking of Greyman Tactical. They're another great company to check out. I'll leave a link for them in the description below as well. I'll leave my social media links. You know, if you want to follow me on Instagram, you'll see all the sort of stuff that I'm looking at and in testing. Where else do we need to mention? We need to mention, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to share. But for now, I hope you've enjoyed this iconic backpack. I hope you stay safe, stay Moorlander, and stay EDC.